This video will mostly pertain to Summoner as a main class. When building it as a sub, spend the points you would normally spend on the main class only skills on the stat up skills at the bottom of the tree. And with that said, let's get right to it. Like all classes, you will unlock the top row for free once you reach the required level, but you are still required to take the actual skill. And you will also have some on the right that come standard too. Assist Chair lets your buffs transfer from one pet to another when you switch pets. 1 point will be needed into HP up at the top left, and this is to unlock everything below it, but it is usually suggested to leave it at level 1 unless you're using Summoner as a subclass. These next two skills are active toggles that can be used from your sub palette, and they simply change your pet's damage from scaling off of your tech power stat to either melee or range power stat respectively. HP Restorate will recover a set percentage of HP every 5 seconds when your health drops below a certain amount. As amazing as this skill is, when using Summoner as a main class, it is usually not maxed as you have access to Resta and Megaverse to heal, and could use those points better elsewhere. However, it is suggested to max it when using Summoner as a sub. Unstoppable Recovery stops you from being knocked back and reduces the damage taken when being hit when using a mate item. It's not bad for 1 point, but some opt to use mate or atomizer rings instead. Quick Recovery simply limits the duration of debuffs and status ailments on your character. In general, these kinds of things don't impact you too much, and you can always use an uncharged anti to remove any status ailments too. So that being said, it's usually not taken. All attack bonus 1 and 2 each give an unconditional 15% damage boost for only 5 points each. This is truly an amazing return for your investment, and these will be a large contributing factor to Summoner's damage as a whole. Definitely max these too. DM Master at max has a 100% chance to have your pet take the damage instead of you if you're going to take enough damage to be incapacitated. And there's a short invulnerability window after it procs too. This is an extremely useful survivability tool and should not be overlooked. Pet Sympathy grants your pet additional damage when you give it Shifta when it asks for it. And if your pet asks for Resta, Pet Sympathy will give the pet a big healing bonus. These boosts don't change as you level the skill up, however the duration will drastically increase, so it's usually suggested to max it for that reason. Now, these next 4 skills are modifiers to Pet Sympathy itself. Harmonizer Up will increase the likelihood of your pet asking for a buff to proc Pet Sympathy. When first starting out and low on skill points, it's best to leave this at level 1 as that already increases the chance of your pet asking for buffs by 200%. Go back and max this later on though. Sympathy Time increases the max duration of Pet Sympathy, and should be maxed because of that to give you a 100% uptime on your buffs. Easy Sympathy increases the window of which you can respond to your pet's buff request to 20 seconds from the default 10 seconds. For 1 point, this is extremely helpful. Long Distance Love will allow you to give your pet Pet Sympathy even when you're far away from it, and is yet another amazing quality of life tool for only 1 point. And now moving on from the Pet Sympathy stuff, we then have Summoner's Mark, which is a huge part of Summoner in general as a main or a sub. To put it simply, it's an active debuff you have to use from your sub palette, and it will place a mark on an enemy's part, and then that part will take additional damage from you and your pet. At max, this usually will have a near 100% uptime. However, keep in mind that if placed on a breakable part, and that part then gets destroyed, the mark will also disappear. Due to how much you usually need to reapply this, it's best suited towards bosses or very thick enemies, but is still very good nonetheless. There's then Enhanced Mark, which further increases the damage you deal to enemies with a mark on them by 10%. But to clarify, with this, hitting an actual marked spot will yield roughly 26.5% additional damage since Summoner's Mark and Enhanced Mark are multiplicative, like most things in the skill trees are. However, if hitting a marked enemy in a non-marked spot, you will only deal the additional 10% damage. Pet Photon Barrier at max will give your pet a 10% chance to avoid taking damage. Due to how small of a chance this actually is, it's pretty optional and often ignored. Pet Recovery will heal your pet very slowly over time. It is suggested to only put in the 3 points needed to unlock Alter Ego below it, as maxing it to 5 barely gives any more healing in return. Reserve Recovery boosts the recovery rate of non-active pets on your weapon palette. For 1 point, it's not bad, but it's often skipped. Pet Elemental Precision Hit increases you and your pet's damage when attacking an enemy with its elemental weakness. And Pet Elemental PP Restorate increases your PP regen rate when your pet attacks an enemy with its elemental weakness. With that said, keep in mind that most things in this game are weak to light, so it is preferred to have a light egg if possible. Now let's head on over to the bottom left before going over to the rest of the stat ups. Advanced Photon Blast simply increases your mag's Photon Blast damage. Alter Ego is an active skill that is another strong damage multiplier summoner has access to in return for taking a percentage of the damage the pet takes. An interesting part about this is that if you are invulnerable while the pet takes damage, you will take none too. An example of this would be when you are mirage stepping or dodging. Getting back to all of these skills over here, they are just straight stat up skills that are mostly reserved for when using Summoner as a sub and are very straightforward. However, with your leftover points, it's best to take Total Attack Up and Total Attack Mega Up to further bolster your damage output. Before I let you go, I'd like to say that I probably won't be making any other Summoner related videos for a while, if at all. But there are a few really good Summoner video guides out there already, such as Knot Syndromes and Animanas, so be sure to check theirs out. And if you want to know all there is to know about Summoner, check out some of the written Summoner guides I have in the description as well. And with that, take care.